even early on, I had the sense that this had happened to me for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't for me that this had happened. But God was going to use it
to
show other people just how good he can be through tragedy.
Yeah. Welcome to this episode of the Jesus in a Tragic World podcast with Greg Falls. This is Greg Falls here, and I hope that our time with each other in the coming moments will help you find fuller life and a relationship with God, yourself, and others. Welcome to the podcast. I'm joined today by Alicia Berry, Worship Media Associate at Bellevue Church in Owensboro, Kentucky. Over 18 years ago, one moment changed everything for our guest. A devastating accident nearly took her life, altering her future in so many ways. Yet through pain, loss, and dozens of medical procedures, her faith never wavered. In this powerful episode, she shares how God met her in the depths, how life found new meaning, and what her journey can teach us all about resilience, purpose, and hope beyond suffering. Her story may just change how you see your own. Let's get started. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled that you are. And of course, we work on staff together here at Bellevue.
Yeah.
And we've been working together for a long time. You served as a volunteer staff member for many, many years. And then for the last 3 years, you've been officially on staff. I've had the privilege of knowing you since you were in high school here at the church. And you, shortly after I got here, you went to college.
Yep.
And you went to college to go into teaching. What drew you into teaching? Because you were training to be an elementary school teacher.
I was. Actually, I went as a freshman to be an accounting major.
Oh.
And
okay.
I studied that for 1 year. And when I learned that it wasn't just bookkeeping, it was more like you had to learn the tax laws every year, I was like, that's not really my thing. So I quickly switched back to elementary education, which looking back, I found my 5th grade yearbook here recently.
Really?
And at Masonville in 5th grade, they'd always make you draw a picture of what you wanted to be when you grew up. And they put it in the yearbook beside your picture.
Oh, wow.
And I had put an elementary school teacher.
Oh, my.
And so my love for kids has always, I've always had a love for kids. Growing up babysitting and just being around kids was always something that brought me a lot of joy. So when I realized that accounting wasn't the direction I wanted to go, I quickly switched to be an elementary school teacher. Graduated from Murray State in 2005.
Yeah.
And taught in Callaway County for 1 year before moving back here and teaching at Burns.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed teaching and being around the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had just bought my first house.
Yeah.
After teaching for 2 years, and was really looking forward to moving out of my parents' house and living on my own. And I needed a little bit extra money to fix up my house, decorate, paint, that kind of thing. And so my dad's like, well, you just come work for me for the summer and make a little extra money and use that on your house.
And tell us what your dad does.
My dad is a steel fabricator. He has built coal processing plants for years.
Yeah.
So I grew up playing in coal dirt and instead of making mud pies and made coal pies. And
wow.
That was just the thing we did growing up. But so he had a shop out in Masonville, and I was just going to go and just do whatever he needed done for the summer. And so the very first thing he needed done was some chain that he had purchased. The dimensions on that chain wasn't the size that it needed to be. And this is a big industrial chain that goes on conveyor belts.
Yeah.
And so he had a drill press, a big overhead drill press with like a lever that you had to
I've
pull
seen
down.
It's gargantuan.
Yeah. And so you would feed the chain, through it this way, pull it down.
You'd sit in a chair in front of it.
Yeah. I think I was standing at it even from what I remember. And so that's what he had me do that afternoon. I was feeding chain through this and then pulling the drill press down to make the holes larger.
Right.
And I don't even know how it happened. I have no idea. I don't know if I heard some kind of noise or commotion over my left shoulder, but I turned and I had longer hair and I had put it up in a ponytail. I remember going and getting a rubber band to put it up to get it out of my way. But somehow when I turned my head really fast, my hair flipped around and the drill press was still running.
Yeah.
And it caught my ponytail.
Yeah.
And I was scalped. And somehow, I don't know, my dad was there. He saw it. He caught me. It took me even up off the ground.
It lifted. He told me about that. He lifted you and spun you
around.
Yeah.
And so somehow he was able to get under me and catch me before I hit the concrete floor. But obviously they called 911. Volunteer firefighters arrived on scene first. And
tell us about the extent of the injury. When you say scalped, you didn't just lose like 6 inches of hair.
No,
you actually
the skin,
because you were pulled back in a ponytail, so all your hair was taut.
Yeah,
and holding onto your skin. From where to where did you lose the skin on your head?
Across my forehead. It kind of came down my nose and down this cheek even, and took half of this left ear with it. And so that all was,
and then all the way around the hairline in the back, right?
Yeah, all the way around.
Yeah.
So
and it was completely off your head.
Completely removed. Yeah. It was brought to the hospital in a cooler.
Right.
Much like a limb or something would be if you were in that sort of an accident.
Right.
Owensboro Hospital was very diligent and realized that they could not handle this sort of trauma. Right. So they had the helicopter show up. I was life flighted to U of L trauma in Louisville. And that was another God thing too. Like the time from the 911 call till I was in surgery in Louisville was only 2 hours.
Wow. I remember that day. We were at the old building. For those that are listening that don't know about our church, we used to be on a whole different campus in town, but we were working to relocate out here. In fact, the day before your surgery, the Sunday, the day before your accident, which was on a Monday, was the Sunday that we broke ground
out here
on our new campus here many years ago, back in 2007. And in fact, the last photograph or video of you is actually on a video of that day that we have. And you, but so we were at I was at the old office at the time in 2007 that day. And we got a phone call and it was your dad. You were already at the hospital, or I think he was on the way to the hospital maybe. And I got on the phone and, he was very distressed and spoke about how serious this was. And I remember getting in the car to drive down and see you. And as I was driving to the hospital, I was realizing this sounds like an injury that I've never seen before. I'm going to have to be strong when I see her. And came to the hospital, saw your dad, and then went back to see you. I remember something about when I saw you. At that point, they had reattached, at least like with almost like they just set it back on your scalp and all that, and they had put like a lot of antibacteria gel or something on, but it wasn't all attached. It was just there, obviously. And then what I remember is you looking at me and saying, I can't believe this is happening. But I wasn't with you for very long before your mom came and got to see you. And then, that care flight from Louisville came quickly and took you away. Yeah. Tell us about your fight for life there in Louisville.
So I don't remember a lot of it because obviously a lot of trauma, a lot of pain meds, that sort of thing. But I do remember, and this could have just been people telling me this story or if I actually remember it myself. But I remember asking my plastic surgeon, can you fix this? And he is a Christian man. And he said, I'm going to try my best.
Yeah.
And apparently I looked at him and I said, well, it's okay if you can't because God can.
Yeah. Yeah. So faith was your anchor, even there right in the beginning. Yeah. You always believed in the Lord, but this was the biggest test you'd ever had. And
yeah. So I was in U of L trauma ICU for 2 months. In that 2-month time period, they had actually taken a vein from my arm to just get more blood flow to the scalp to try and save as much of it as they could.
That was the biggest issue, wasn't it?
It was. So
blood flow to a scalp that had removed from your body.
Right. Yeah. Just trying to regain that blood flow. And so they had taken a vein from my arm, placed it in my head. And for some reason, and they couldn't figure this out for about 5 days, why every morning they'd come in with an ultrasound to see if that vein still had blood flow. And for about 5 days, every morning, it wouldn't have blood flow. And it kept clotting. Yeah, it kept clotting shut. That. And they couldn't figure out why until I actually had a friend from high school who was a nursing student who happened to be in the room with my mom visiting me when they came to change my bed sheets like they do every day. Well, because I was in such a state, I had actually also fractured my C2 in my neck. So I didn't have a neck brace on because I was just laying in a hospital bed. Right. I wasn't moving that much, so they didn't think it was necessary. But that meant I couldn't get up out of the bed for them to change the sheet. So they would roll you one way, roll you the other, that type of situation. Well, when they rolled me towards her, she said she watched the color of my skin go from pink, good blood flow, to gray.
Oh, wow.
To back to pink when they rolled me back over. Oh. So every time they were rolling me to change my sheets, that vein was getting blocked.
Like pinched or something? Or
just me laying on it. And so after they figured that out, they said she is not to be moved for 7 days.
Wow.
Well, also, they were trying to save this ear that had been injured. And so the best way for them to get blood flow to that ear to save it was through leech therapy.
Yeah,
and you don't hear about that, much anymore. So they were putting leeches on that area twice a day to get the blood flow to that area. Yeah. But leeches also, that was what they were doing their job. They're bringing blood to the surface. Right. So my sheets were dripping with blood.
Yeah.
But they said
they had open wounds.
They had open wounds.
Maintained open wounds for a long time.
And but they couldn't change my sheets for a week because they didn't want me moved. Yeah. So finally that vein, it quit clotting shut and that was successful. So there was just a lot going on in that ICU over a 2-month period of time, from leeches to just I hadn't seen myself.
Right. They sewed your eyes shut, didn't they?
They did.
Because you had a lot of tears around the eyes where the skin separated.
And because a lot of the surgeries, they were working on the back of my head, I ended up face down. So they ended up tracheing me. So I couldn't speak and I couldn't see for 2 months. And so it's amazing how God can put things in your life or before something tragic happens to prepare you for that tragedy. So even back in high school, we had a sign language team here at Bellevue.
I remember that we still had it when I became pastor here in 1998.
And I continued to be on the sign language team at Murray while I was in college. And so immediately when I realized I can't talk, I can't see, my hand just started spelling words. And my mom ran out to the waiting room to see if there anybody here that knows sign language that can come tell me what she's trying to tell me. And my good friend Deborah happened to be in the waiting room.
And she was in high school with you in those church-led sign language classes.
Yeah. And so she was able to come back and interpret for my mom, and ended up one of the nurses that would come in every morning to do the ultrasound of that vein. She knew how to sign. Yeah. So I was able to communicate with that resident doctor as well.
How long did you go without being able to communicate before that sign language? Do you remember?
I don't.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Deborah, I mean, this is a tremendous testimony of friendship.
Yeah.
She was a teacher as well.
She was at Burns.
At the same school that you taught at.
Yeah.
And so she was off for the summer.
Yep.
And she just stayed in the hospital for 2.5 months or so.
Yeah.
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 That was a gift.
It was a gift. And so in any sort of ICU situation, especially at U of L, it's a teaching hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So they have residents coming through. And usually when that happens, they make visitors in your room leave. And so the patient is left in the room alone, whatever. But I couldn't see. I didn't really know what my surroundings were or where I was. And that was scary.
Sure. Yeah.
And so they actually said they had a psychologist come in and see me every day. And he was really pushing for me to look at myself. Once they opened up the sutures on my eyes, he really wanted me to look at myself. And I wasn't ready for that.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was probably, I was home from the hospital before I ever.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was like 3 months later almost, right?
Yeah.
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 When you were there in the hospital, there was a time where there was a spiritual battle that happened, because I remember that it connected with a mission trip in Africa that was happening. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was probably halfway through the ICU stay where
probably
there was
July.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And again, a lot of pain meds. I've learned through this whole situation that my body did not react to morphine and this was one of the reactions I had to it, was nightmares.
Yeah.
And one of them I had was, I felt like Satan was chasing me on an escalator, but a never-ending escalator. Like it never went anywhere.
So
but I could just feel him right behind me.
Yeah.
Just the presence of him was so close.
Yeah.
And so I remember telling my mom, I was like, she had her Bible with her. I was like, just read scripture. I don't care what it is, just read.
Yeah.
And she read for hours, and she'd stop and I'd be like, no, keep reading.
Yeah.
And we learned after the fact that, like you said, there was a mission trip of some of our youth.
Yep. Our discipleship
pastor at the time, Angus McKinley, was in Africa on a mission trip. Of course, this is in the middle of the night here, which would have been daytime over there. And they had heard about my accident, and they had just felt this sense that they needed to stop and to pray for me. And it happened to correlate with this nightmare that I was having of the devil and
it was right at the same time. It was nighttime here, daytime there. And we found out that at the exact same time in time, they were praying for you in that moment.
Yeah. So when you feel that urge to pray for somebody, do it, because you don't know what they're going through at the time.
And how the Holy Spirit works. He'll so often prompt us to pray for people, which is an amazing thing when you think about it. When you see prayers and the answers to prayers, both in the example of Scripture and in our historical experience, a lot of times you can ask the question, why do I need to pray when God already knows? Right? God already knows what to do. What can't He just handle it
on His own?
But there's something about relationship. God wants us to be close to Him and close to those whom He's created. He's created us to be in relationship. And even in this tragic thing that you went through, relationships and connections were happening. Yeah. Like Deborah, who you already had a very tight relationship with, now it's becoming even more deep in tragedy. Tell us about that friendship, just what that meant to you at that time.
It meant a lot that, God had put her there in that waiting room, knowing that I would come out signing and that she needed to be there. He puts people in the right place at the right time to do things like that. And the fact that we taught together at Burns. So even after my accident, I took a year off, obviously, to heal. But I did go back and teach another year after that with her. And our friendship was obviously strong before, but it's just been even stronger. And still to this day is a really good friendship.
Yeah. So. There's something powerful about the connection and bond we make when we're helping one another.
Yeah.
in life. And I think that's one of those gifts that come out of things that seem despairing, and yet God has enrichment in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So you came home and you got to see your face for the first time. What was that like?
It was hard because it was bandaged. So right after the accident, even my mom and Deborah have both said this, they reattached your scalp. You came back to the room. You looked like yourself again. Everything seemed like it was going to be okay. And within 24 hours, they realized very quickly that wasn't the case, which is why I ended up being there for so long.
Right.
The, obviously the blood flow situation was a problem, but all of the skin it started turning black. So basically, even though they reattached the scalp, it didn't survive. And so that skin had to die off. Scar tissue had to build back up under it. And then that layer of dead skin had to eventually come off. And so once I came home, that was the process that we had to do every day, twice a day, was remove bandages, replace ointments and things to help the skin rebuild itself. And that was hard because you are right after an accident, people rally, they're always there. And but once something that has gone on for months, that tends to dwindle over time.
Right.
You know? And so sorry.
You start to get lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're stuck at home and you don't feel like you can go anywhere, I could go places, but when you don't feel like you look like yourself, that's hard.
Right.
And because my trauma was to my scalp, I didn't see it. It's not like I can look down at my arm and go, oh, that hurts. That looks different.
Right. You have to look in a mirror to see it.
You have to look in a mirror to see it. So it's not that I forgot that it looked that way, but there wasn't a constant reminder, obviously, the pain. Right. But going out in public, obviously people are going to stare because it's different, I mean, it wasn't something I could easily hide, especially early on because there were so many bandages because it came down so far on my forehead. You couldn't just stick a wig on it and move on.
Right.
So that took a long time for myself even to become comfortable with the way I looked.
Right. What would you say to people who have not been injured, but come up to somebody who's been injured or had some kind of, they were born in a certain way that is not like everybody else?
Right.
One thing I've noticed is people tend to have the impulse of either they stare in this hard to resist curiosity, or they turn away, which can also be isolating for someone. What would you say?
I would say just try to be normal.
Yeah.
Those people know, obviously, that they're different, but they don't want to be treated differently.
Right. Yeah. And I think, it had to have been a real adjustment. But one thing that I've noticed about you is over the last 16, 17, 18 years, you have, it seems to me from the outside, you've made a choice to be willing to be vulnerable. Like you've been with us here at work at times and showed us the progress of your scarring and scars and after surgeries and everything else. You've been very open about that and you've normalized it.
I had to. I mean, obviously this was a traumatic injury that couldn't be easily fixed. And so I had to very quickly accept the fact that this was my new normal. And instead of hiding it, I might as well just share it with everybody. And then it makes things just more easy for me when everybody knows what it looks like under your scarf or under your hat or whatever. That way, when you do have situations where it has to be exposed to other people, they're not as shocked by it.
Right.
So I just had to try and make it as normal as I could.
Has that helped you accept the new reality?
Yeah, I think so. The hair and the scalp thing was hard, but I think my eyes became the harder part over time.
Tell us about your eyes. How did this affect your eyes?
So, like I said, as the scalp fell away, regenerated, and healed, scar tissue contracts. And so as it contracted, it pulled the corners of my eye upward as that skin got tighter and tighter. And that was something that you would think they could just surgically go in and fix. But they didn't want to fix that too early on while the scalp was still regenerating.
I see.
Because if you moved it down and then it just got pulled right back up, what was the point?
Right.
So our biggest struggle was keeping my eyes hydrated. Because they didn't close all the way.
Yeah.
You know, sleeping with masks on and ointment in all the time, and light sensitivity, you know, not having eyebrows anymore. And it just, you don't realize how much of that is actually functional.
Right.
That your eyebrows actually serve a purpose in shade and squinting in the sunlight and all that type of thing.
Get sweat pouring down into your eyes.
Right, all that sort of thing. So so the eyes have been pulled up that way for many years now. But just recently in the last 2 years, we have finally been able to surgically work on my forehead and do some skin grafts and take skin from other places on my body and get my forehead to be, you know, full thickness skin that moves. And that has been a blessing. And since we've done that, they've been able to move parts of the corners of my eyes closer to where they're supposed to be. Yeah. It's still not perfect. It will never be what it was. But progress has definitely been made, which has led to the new hair.
Yes.
Which I haven't been able to do
something for this is, as of the recording of this episode, it's been a month since you've gotten the wig.
Yeah.
And
so since it was all scar tissue, you know, it was so thin. It was just this thin layer of skin on bone, basically. And so I tried a wig shortly after the accident, and my scalp just couldn't handle the friction and the tension of the wig sitting on it. So
it's taken 18 years.
It's taken 18 years.
To get you ready for this.
Yeah. So many of you have seen me either in a black scarf on my head or a baseball cap. And that has been my normal for so long. Yeah. The baseball cap became really comfortable for me because it kind of served, like I said, what an eyebrow would do. It gave me shade for my eyes, you know, that type of thing. And it made me feel more normal. You know, the hat shaded my eyes, not just from the sun, but also from other people's looks and stares too.
So those things are still tender though. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you know, we can accept things that are losses in our life or difficult things that we'd rather not have. We can accept it and it helps, but it's almost like we have to always continually be reminded that we need to accept things. Yeah. It's like certain things about wounds they become more manageable. We get strong in them, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to keep on revisiting that letting go and that acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I didn't realize how much I was hiding behind the hats, you know, honestly, until the hair. And, you know, some people can go through something in life where a wig is necessary for them, and they can go usually fairly quickly from the hair they had to the wig to where most people don't even know that they're wearing one. Yeah. But I've gone so long without it that obviously everybody knows, you know, that it is. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
That will probably change over time. Yeah. People either will forget or there'll be new people that don't know anything different. Yeah.
But it has brought a confidence back.
Oh, well, good. those things matter. They really do. And I have a question to ask about, was there ever a time, let's go back all the way 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time during that time that you said, why me, God?
Oh, yeah. Of course you do.
Sure.
And my dad struggled a lot.
Right.
Because I was working for him.
Yeah.
You know, he felt like he was responsible for my injuries.
You're his baby girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
But even early on, I had this sense that this had happened to me for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't for me that this had happened. But God was going to use it
to
show other people just how good he can be through tragedy.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my dad once that, yes, this happened at your place of work.
Yeah.
But you weren't responsible. It could have been a car accident. It could have been anything. Yeah. I feel like God was still going to use it regardless of how the tragedy happened. But God, not that he planned it by any stretch of the imagination, but he knew how he was going to use it before it even happened.
Yeah.
So.
And that's something that I've watched you have that be something that has propelled you forward. I've never known you to be somebody to just retreat and say, I'm not going to live my life. You have been always somebody who you may have struggled with what happened, but you're okay. So what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so you went back to teaching, but then if I remember correctly, with all the surgeries that you were going to have to do for years and years and years, maintaining a classroom just wasn't going to be feasible. Right. So you had to leave that and just concentrate on healing and surgeries and stuff for a while. But eventually you came to church. I mean, you were already part of church, but you came and began to volunteer with more significant amounts of your free time than usual because you weren't working in a paid job. And you became very, very important around here, engineering lights and eventually being a part of the creative process of producing productions. And you became an inner circle core of what we do in telling the story of the gospel here at Bellevue on an every Sunday for every Sunday, but also for some of our really, really big productions like our Christmas production that impacts thousands in our city. And you've been an integral part of all that and had your fingerprints on that over the years. How has that been a part of this, what seems to be a divergent journey, but of course God had it all planned to begin with?
Yeah, so like I said, I had always planned on becoming an elementary school teacher and even tried that, like you said, after the accident, but with reconstructive surgeries and the risk of infection, being around little fingers and little hands all the time was just not a good idea. Yeah. And so we finally got to move into this new facility that we've talked about, and
here at church.
At church, and that came with new technology that we had never had before: moving lights, bigger screens, all that sort of thing. And my brother does that for a living. He is in the production world, and so he's like, "I'll just train you on how to do things. So if they have questions, you have somebody to call." Yeah. And I fell in love with it. And so, like you said, I've done lighting and video since we've moved into this building over 17 years. And it became something that it gave me purpose because I didn't have a job. But so I had all this free time, and so I could come and do it when I felt like I needed to get out of the house and I needed to have something to do. And so, it gave me a lot of purpose to get out and do, and not just stay at home and hide.
Yeah.
So,
and you became a part of something that was advancing God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And when you struggled with those, and maybe even continue at times struggling with the difficulties of these things, how has that impacted your relationship with God?
It's had its ups and downs.
Sure,
obviously.
Sure.
I would say I grew really close to, you would think when something tragic like this happens, you go, why God? You would want to draw away. But for some reason, I was drawn towards him because you're like, God, I need your help and I need it now, you know, in this moment, Lord, help me.
And you knew that you needed things that no human being could give your soul to get through.
Yeah. And so that's how it was early on. But over the years, just drawing near to him, saying this is my new normal is easy to say, but it's a daily, constant. You need him to remind you that, yes, this is your new normal, but I have a purpose for it and I will use it. So another thing I struggled with, obviously, was I was 25 when this happened. Single, didn't have my own family. My love for kids, obviously, as an elementary school teacher, was there. And I had always, dreamt that I would have my own. And that quickly became apparent that probably wouldn't happen for me. And God works all things for his good. Yeah. And he had a plan.
Because you still had that mother instinct.
Yeah.
Something that goes back, even when you were in high school thinking, or even younger than that I want to have children someday, or I want to be a teacher. That desire to be important in the life of a child was important to you.
Yeah. And so, it was 20. I was still very active in a life group, the underground life group, underground church. Yes. We called ourselves that because
Bible study group here at Bellevue.
We met in someone's basement, so we called ourselves the underground church. But within that group, I had a lot of friends that I had grown up with here at Bellevue through the youth group, and it was 2015, I guess, and one of them had just had twins, and finding daycare for twins, is hard to do. And she was really worried about going back to work and what am I going to do with my new babies? And I was like, well, I can watch them, I'm not doing anything and I can watch them till you find daycare or childcare or whatever. And here we are 10 years later. Yeah. And I have loved on those babies.
And you become a part of the family. Yeah. And even your mom has become like a grandmother. They have grandmother name for her. Y'all go on vacation together. You do all kinds of things. Yeah.
So God placed those children in my life because he knew that was still a desire of my heart. Yeah.
And you have another little one right now that you take on from another family as well. Yeah. And I get to watch, when you're here at church and you have the kids with you, that mother instinct and that mother expression, and you have this gift of being strong for them and firm and also loving, and all of those gifts and talents are being used to help raise children, and that's been a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So when something tragic like that happens, and you think, "Oh, I had all these desires in my heart that aren't going to, come to fruition," God can and will work to either fill that desire or remove it.
Right. Yeah. Right. But we have to wait. Yeah. Sometimes you waited a long time wondering.
Yeah.
whether a door like that would open.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I see in people and in myself, that when a deep disappointment happens and then you think, oh, well, maybe it'll get better next week, and it doesn't. And then, eventually you go, I think this is my new normal.
Mm-hmm.
You can become very despairing and think that somehow something's dead in your heart or has to die. And we can become sarcastic. We can become apathetic and say, oh, it doesn't matter. Or, I don't care. And yet it's a big part of our heart. So we're just squelching our heart. And yet God wants to give us the desire of our hearts, even if it's in a way that we didn't envision to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think we've touched on it a little bit already. We've been seeing it, but I'm going to ask this question directly, because then maybe we can answer it in a direct way. But what opportunities and gifts have come out of this journey that you've been on for the last 18 years? What are some opportunities and some gifts that have come out that you know that without this particular journey, you wouldn't have experienced?
Yeah. Obviously working here. I mean, I never planned to know how to, be a lighting designer or a graphic designer. That was not on my radar at all, and that was just something that came from a need that I saw in front of me, that I thought I could do that. I have the time, I have the energy, and I needed a purpose.
And you have that engineering mind like your dad,
Yeah.
That can look at something and you see solutions, efficient solutions very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all marvel at that. We probably bother you more than the average person, because we know that when we come to you, you're going to be able to wrap your
problem solving
solution after a problem
has always been something that I enjoy. Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit. The problem solving piece. Because I think it relates to this too, because it's part of your story. But I watched that with your dad. Your dad's a very quiet man, but his brain about things and problems that need to be solved, particularly in physical things that need to be engineered or fabricated, is just ingenious. Did you pick that? Do you think that this is something that was just inherent, that this is something, or do you think you picked up from his? And your mom's very smart at these things too, but do you think you picked up from him his problem-solving skills?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely got my work ethic from him. He's always been a hard worker.
Yeah.
Sometimes growing up, that can be hard, because Dad's always at work.
He didn't know how to turn it off.
And didn't know how to turn it off. When my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and we were able to follow him on trips, like I said, that's how I got to play in the coal and that kind of thing. We got to follow along after him on his work trips, but just seeing the dedication he had to his work and the joy that brought him, not at the sacrifice of his family, because he was obviously always there for us, but that's definitely where I got my work ethic from, and the problem solving skills. I do think a lot of that came from God, but also from watching my parents live that out as well. Yeah. Your dad was in the hospital recently, and I came to visit him, and there was a nurse there attending to him, and I turned around and I opened up the staff-only cabinet in the room, because I knew that he had actually designed and made all of these carts in the whole hospital, like 500 or 600 of them. Every laundry cart. Yeah.
Every laundry cart he had designed in our
and built
local hospital here in the city, and turned around and opened it up and said, yep, it's still there. And it was just neat to see how, when you have that kind of problem solving, you can not only think through the challenges of your life and even tragedies, but you can also do great things for God that impact a lot of other people in your community. You've done that here at church for sure. What about this has taught you about you? What have you learned about yourself in all this?
that I was stronger than I ever thought I was.
Wow.
And obviously not by my own strength,
Yeah.
but from the strength that God has given me. I mean, as a 25-year-old, you never think it's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even as rare as my accident was,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't hear of scalpings that often anymore.
Yeah.
But people are injured all the time through other things, car accidents, you know, tragic farming accidents, whatever it may be. You just never know. And you can't take it for granted that maybe it hasn't happened to you, but God knows. He knows each and every one of our breaths and our days, and He has them planned. And even if they don't go the way we think they should, He is there in the midst of the tragedies.
Yeah.
And so I can seem, you know, very strong, but it was all because of Him. Yeah. And I remember back even in the hospital. This was in 2007. Mm-hmm. So
there at the beginning,
smartphones were not our world.
No.
But
I think that was the year that maybe the iPhone came out.
Yeah, but I had an iPod. You know, a little red metal iPod, and someone had ran out and bought this, you know, 2 speakers that you dock the iPod in the middle, and we played worship music the whole time I was in the ICU. And even though it was crazy with leeches and all the doctors, nurses would come in my room on their breaks just because they're like, it's so peaceful in here. Yeah. And so God gives that peace. When you say the peace that passes understanding, I know now what that means because there was no reason for me to be at peace after what had just happened to me. But I felt it. Yeah. Even my comment to my doctor when I said, can you fix this? And he said, I'm going to try. And I said, well, if you can't, God can. Yeah. That was just something that I had always felt that He was always going to be there for me. Yeah. No matter what life threw at me.
Yeah. You made a choice of faith.
He will give you the peace when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that I've always noticed about you. You chose to believe.
Yeah.
And that's the secret of your strength, because it's in that you were allowed to, well, that opened the door to God's strength. Yeah. I think one of the things that, I mean, tragedy is going to come in all of our lives, and tragedy, you don't have to compare your tragedy to somebody else. You can, your tragedy is your tragedy. So it's big in your life, you know, whoever we're talking to right now.
Yeah.
But when you experience that tragedy in life, you have a choice to either believe that God's going to be in it with you or that God's against you.
Yeah. And that is your choice to make. Yeah. And your choice will affect how your tragedy plays out. Yeah. Yeah.
And whether your tragedy makes you bitter or the tragedy provides opportunities for you to grow better.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to try hard to make it happen. No. Sometimes you have to just let go and accept some things and then live life on life's terms, which we don't get to choose the terms all the time. Yeah. So, well, you have given us just a tremendous gift in sharing your story. I know, because there's been a couple other times that you've shared your story, both publicly in our church services and then also on video before. And every time I know that people, they can relate, even if their circumstance isn't the same. They relate to these principles of coming to the place where God's with us, even in the things that are sad. And you know, one of the things that I've watched in you is you've felt all your feelings. You've felt the sadness. You felt the hurt. And I you will do. Again.
And I still do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 18 years and it's still, you know, emotional.
Yeah. But but you're living your life, and you're living it well. Here we have several people at our church that deal with either chronic illnesses and have all their lives, and I've watched their journey where they have come to the place where they got in a funk, but then they finally went, this is it. This is my life. I'm probably going to have to struggle with accepting it all my life, but I'm going to live it. I'm going to live my life. Yeah. We have a older man in our church that I've known since he was about in his early 40s, and he's got chronic illness and everything else. He used to be a pastor. He's a deacon now at our church. There's times when his health will prevent him from doing some things here, but otherwise he's got a real gift to teach, and so he does. And he does everything he possibly can. He hasn't been able to work a full-time job most of his adult life because of this, but he has found a way to live his life, and he has become hugely valuable in so many people's lives, and he's helped so many people grow in their faith. God has a plan for us, and if we will, and sometimes that plan comes to greater fruition in loss. Which is, isn't that the way of the cross? I mean, Jesus purchased life for all of us who would believe by suffering something so horrific and deadly, on the cross. And Jesus says that we have to carry our cross as well if we're going to follow him.
Yeah. And we can always, sit back and play the what if game. I can always look back and go, well, what would my life have looked like if this had never happened? Well, I can't do that because who knows what it would have been, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
And you have to just, like you said, live your life with what has been dealt to you and just trust God through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great word to end with. And I hope that the people that are listening have found encouragement to be able to lean in on God and know that God is with them, even in the midst of the tragedies of life. Thank you, Alicia.
You're welcome.